Sure, I could have done a lot of things. I could have also just found a co-founder where I wouldn't have had to take that out, and we could have essentially just like paid that person in equity, right? We could have split the equity of the entire company. But the reason I took it out is because I'm a solo non-technical founder. Like when I was working in big tech, I was working in sales the whole time. So yes, I could have spent time to like find a co-founder, but I wanted to move very quickly on this because I saw where the world was going. I saw a need and I was right.
Welcome to the Say Hola Well podcast, where we talk about how to make work optional, ditch burnout, and start going after your dream life. My name is Lucy King. I went from believing I have to work hard for money to now having multiple investment accounts and be on track to make work optional by 45. Inside my programs, Jefas and Wealth Mastermind and the Say Hola Wealth Academy, I help you reclaim your purpose and make work optional through entrepreneurship and stock market investing. Get ready to have your mindset decolonized and learn the simple money strategies to help you stop trading your income for your labor. Before I get started with the show, I want to remind you to follow us on social at Say Hola Wealth. You can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. And if you are serious about making work optional, I want to invite you to subscribe to Cash Libre, our newsletter, where we send you money and mindset tips directly to your inbox on Thursday. When you are part of Cash Libre community, you get access to a special discounts on our programs and access to the Cash Libre quarterly office hours where you can come and ask me anything. You don't even have to stay for the whole hour. You can just come in, get your question answered, and then go on with your day. With that being said, let's go ahead and start the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Pabel just said, our guest today, that he is an open book, and I'm super excited because I want you to be an open book. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited to start chatting with you about all things becoming a founder, launching an app, especially in the mental health space where we don't really see Latinos talking about mental health because just like money, mental health is such a big taboo topic. And it took me a couple of years to finally get Pavel to say, yeah, I'll show up to your podcast. So here we are now. Tell us a little bit about your background for those people that have not been stalking you like I have been. What is your background, your parents?
Yeah, so I grew up in New York City, and it's so funny because I think New York City is often described as a melting pot, but typically from like a cultural standpoint. But it's one of the only cities that it's also a melting pot of income. So like I grew up in the projects in public housing, but down the street, Macaulay Culkin, the dude from like Home Alone, had an apartment. Like it's one of the wealthiest zip codes in the country. So from an early age, I saw the difference between like poverty and wealth. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do whatever the hell I can to just make it. And I think like so many of us, we often give up so many parts of ourselves, our dignity, our self-respect, our mental health, just for the idea of like, I don't care what I gotta do as long as I can make enough money. But eventually I got burnt out, which led me to the work that I'm doing now.
Yeah. And now, for what I gather, based on the articles that I read about you, again, stalking you, because I literally was stalking you because I just became so passionate about learning about you because you are talking about something that I didn't know I needed until my 30s. And so when I started looking for like mental health resources, your app was one of the few apps that show up. And when I learned that, oh my God, it was a Latino that decided to help bridge this mental health inequity that exists, like I need to know more about the work that you're doing. And so you have a background in working for big tech companies. You are very passionate about mental health, but like eventually when you're talking about being burnout, like what led you to say, forget it, I'm going to do my own thing?
Yeah, I mean, I was working in big tech. So before I quit my job, I was working at TikTok. Before that, I was at Meta. And I've always been working in tech, but when I was working in tech, I would often tell myself like, yo, if I'm gonna be successful here, I gotta be the whitest version of an employee that I can be. So I used to literally be like a full-on actor at work. Like, yeah, I was a full-time salesperson, but I was also might as well have been a full-time actor because I was binge watching and like binge everything white culture so that I can go into work and essentially play a role that I thought my coworkers wanted me to be, right? And I think we're taught at an early age to not be ourselves, right? Like I remember growing up, my grandfather was like, "Do you see presidents and CEOs wearing do-rags and tattoos and piercings?" Right? So to this day, I don't have any of that because like image and like this idea of quote unquote professionalism was ingrained in me so long, right? But that isn't like career advice. Those are just like survival tactics. Like we've been taught for so long to be quiet, to dim our light, to not be who we are. But if anything, it's the biggest strength. What sets us apart, standing out is a good thing, even though we're taught not to, right? So eventually I was burnt out because I was dedicating half of my time and energy to be an actor instead of just doing my job.
Yeah. And I think it's so bold of you that you speak up about these because a lot of men don't do it. Like I've interviewed, I don't know, about 200 women that say, yeah, I was code switching, I was changing the way I dressed, the way I spoke, all of these things, but I've never had a caballero that says, yeah, me too, I was doing that too, right? And so this is why I also wanted to bring you to the show. Now, one of the things that I've learned about you, Pavel, which I think is super audacious, like I was like, yes, right? And especially as a financial educator, I like to teach things that are very non traditional. And when I read that Pavel decided to use his money from his 401k to launch the startup, I was like, no freaking wait. Like, bravo. Like, let me clap. And then I think that's when I started officially stalking you even more because I was like, I want to have this conversation with him, right? Were you advised by your parents, your family not to do that?
I mean, when I tell people today what I did with my 4K, they're just like, I'm crazy. Like, I wouldn't, like, no, you shouldn't have done that. You should have taken a loan on it. You should have done this. You should have done that. But like, sure, I could have done a lot of things. I could have also just found a co-founder where I wouldn't have had to take that out, and we could have essentially just like paid that person in equity, right? We could have split the equity of the entire company. But the reason I took it out is because I'm a solo non-technical founder. Like when I was working in big tech, I was working in sales the whole time. So yes, I could have spent time to like find a co-founder, but I wanted to move very quickly on this because I saw where the world was going. I saw a need and I was right, right? Like today, the number one use case for AI, according to Harvard Business Review, is therapy and companionship.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing when I started building it, but I saw that I knew that it was going to be a thing. So I was like, fuck it, let me just bet on myself and put my money where where I think the world is going. And I was right. It doesn't mean I'm the top player in it yet, but I'm glad that I made the decision when I did because who knows if I would have waited a year or 6 months to find the quote unquote perfect person where I would be now.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you did because now the app is here, is helping people. So, can you tell us about the doubts that come with launching an app, not being a technical founder, right? Like I don't know anything. I know about AI, I use AI, but I'm not a my background isn't in tech. And I kind of feel that too, where I want to do so much, but I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that. So how did you what resources was there self-doubt? Did you ended up like using to bring this app to life? Did you have to go to school? Did you have to learn? Like, what happened? How do you spend the money?
Yeah, I mean, truth is we all have our strengths, right? Even the most technical of technical people, they can build things, but they can't market it. They can't position it the right way. They don't know how to do sales. They don't know how to do customer discovery. They don't know how to brand their personal self on LinkedIn, right? So like there's all these sort of things that I have strengths and I know where my strengths are and I know where like my opportunities are. I'm a technical person in the sense I can get it, I can understand it, communicate it, I can sell it. But as far as building it, like that's not my strength. So I leaned on just referrals. I was like, hey, I want to contract someone or a team to take this from idea into reality. And that's what I did. Like that's what I spent it on for the most part. And all of the success that we've had so far from a an awareness standpoint of downloads and use cases, that has all been the strength of just like organic marketing. I haven't spent money on organic marketing. I'm sorry, on marketing on this app yet. It's all been in just like product development.
I love your marketing. Like, I love your marketing, right? And I think as founders, sometimes we can also be a little bit hard on ourselves. Like, I should be doing more.
My God.
But I believe that because you have a background in sales, you know how to talk to people. And that shows on the content that I, as a consumer, receive. That makes me wonder, like, let me check out the app. Like, what is the app about, right? And so I think that you're doing an excellent job there. Now,
Thank you.
people might wonder, how do you even make money once you launch a mental health app?
I'm still trying to figure it out. So, I mean, we have a vision for monetization and strategy behind our revenue, but part of the reason why I also cashed out my 401k and just like used my savings was to also sustain myself until we figure out monetization, right? Like there's so many things, at least in my belief, like that we need to figure out before we can even start charging folks, right? So like one, okay, you launch the app. Does it provide value to users? Right? That's number one. If it does, okay, but like how often are we providing value to folks, right? Retention. Like, did we solve for that? Okay, after that, who's our ideal customer? Is it consumers? Is it businesses? Like, there's so many things you need to figure out before you start like charging people. But our monetization strategies, like we're focused on businesses. So we have a couple pilot programs that are actually launching with like colleges and universities because outside of finances, the biggest reason why someone is going to drop out of college is for mental health reasons. And if you think about their on-site counseling centers, there's never enough counselors to meet the demand for students. So like we complement those services really well, and we're able to like scale those resources for the entire campus at a very efficient rate. So that's how we're thinking about monetization, as well as like if you think about any corporate benefit program, like we want to be part of that mix
I
as
love that.
far as like EAP and other benefits.
I love that. And I was just talking at a university here in my area, and you're correct. The counselors were telling me, like, they come to me like asking me questions about mental health, money, and I'm like, I'm still trying to figure out myself, so I don't know how to help the students. And I think that's just a fabulous idea. Now, Pavel, I want to ask you about coming back to the conversation on professionalism, because I still see it with us Latinos that we struggle so hard to be who we are. But then I see you posting all these really fun videos on LinkedIn where you just pick up a founder and you're like, hey, check out their swag and check out their outfits and check out like how they're showing up. Why do you think it's so important for us as Latinos to show up authentically in, yeah, just the way we look, with our Spanglish, with our crazy laughs, with our WhatsApps, with our tattoos, with all of these?
Yeah, so I used to have a podcast called Quien Tú Eres, and I updated it to plural or plural. And on every episode, we would ask someone to like walk us through their journey of like struggling or balancing professionalism with authenticity. And it's the same thing on every episode. Every episode, someone says, "Yeah, I was faking it most of my career because I thought that it was going to help me. It didn't. It was a waste of time." And when they stopped faking it, that's when they started doing their best work. So it's not just like, oh, I wanna help you to help you. Like this is a social good. No, like it'll literally make you more money. Like if you are yourself, you'll stop bullshitting around and acting like someone else, and you'll just start doing your best work. You'll find that you have more time and energy to like do things you actually like outside of work instead of just getting home and just being exhausted and just having to go to bed, right? Like you'll have more energy and more likely a better career. You'll never do your best work until you stop faking it.
But that's hard for some people. A lot of people are like, I just can't, right? Like I can't. And I'm including myself because I was in that corporate setting where even wearing a lipstick that was bright was not even an option. It's like, don't I dare to show up with like red lipstick or pink or purple or whatever, because how they are, right? What does it take to be authentic? Because again, not everyone is willing to do it.
Well, one, I would challenge those people and say, like, why do you have to work there if they don't accept you for who you are? I think we often take these scenarios of at will employment, especially in the United States, as at will employment, the power is in the employer's hand. They can fire me whenever I want. Okay, yeah, but I can also leave whenever I want, right? But when it comes to authenticity, I think a lot of people don't stop to think about like what it actually means to them. So something else that I learned in the podcast was that it means something different to everybody. And the reason for that is because the version your most authentic self is the version of yourself as a kid who they told you not to be, or you're not allowed to be, right? So it's a very personal definition, right? So I always give a funny example of, like, in kindergarten, it's like, or first grade or whatever, your first parent teacher conference. It's like, oh my God, like, Pavel, he's amazing, but he talks too much. And your parents are like, well, shut the fuck up, stop talking so much, right? But in reality, I'm a future head of sales. I'm an extroverted person. I have energy. I'm distracted, but if bottled the right way, you'll see me as the strong relationship builder that I am, right? But we don't often, shape those personalities. We tell them to stop, right? So the sooner that we can realize, like back in the day, who they told us not to be, the sooner that we can start like bringing that back out.
So powerful. I used to pretend I was interviewing people and look at me. That's what I loved to do growing up. And my mom was like, stop playing, go to school and don't laugh. I was like, okay, mom, I'm gonna do that.
Yeah. I
I,
think I
I
think
really
the
love it. Go ahead.
I think the other thing that's really important is that we got to realize, like, as humans, and this is something I learned while building the app. 80% of all of our thoughts as humans are negative. So when we are playing out these scenarios in our heads, like, "Ooh, if I wear red lipstick, I'm gonna get fired." Eh, not really, right? Like, that is the absolute worst case scenario, and our brains automatically jump to these worst case scenarios because they're meant to protect us. But in reality, it's you'll probably have like an awkward look or an awkward conversation, and then you can learn how to deal with those things, right? But like, what is reality and what is our brain trying to protect us jumping to these worst case scenarios, right?
I love that. Now, your app helps people identify limiting beliefs, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I your app is very universal, meaning that it's not just for Latinos, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's universal. I mean, my belief is that I think if you build something for the most underserved and underprivileged, then by default it will be a better app for everybody. So yeah, I have a target audience when I think about like building it, how I want it to sound, how I want it to resonate, but at the same time, like, there's so many white people that use the app and they say they love it.
Yeah, I have a couple friends that I send them the link and I was like, download it because it's so good. But the reason why I ask you this is because I became curious as I was hearing you talk about the app and your journey, is if there is a demographic that has a set of limiting beliefs versus the other demographic. Am I making sense with what I'm asking here?
Yeah, I think we all, well, not that I think, I know just based on the data that we all have limiting beliefs. They're just limiting beliefs about different things. But again, as humans, the National Science Foundation says that 80% of all of our thoughts are negative and 95% of them are repetitive, right? So there are these limiting beliefs that we're just telling ourselves on a daily basis on repeat. Now, they just may show up in different ways depending on your experience, or what sort of area you're in. But yeah, we're all doubting ourselves.
So, what are your limiting beliefs?
Oh my God, I had the worst. This week has been tough. It's so funny because you said this and someone else said this to me earlier. Like, oh my God, you're killing it. It doesn't feel like it. Like, so often I'm telling myself, like, I'm not moving fast enough. I'm not doing enough. This isn't gonna work out. Like, why am I even doing this? Like, I have so many limiting beliefs. One that I display often is this idea of fortune telling. So the way that my anxiety manifests is that I'm always trying to predict the future instead of staying in the present and thinking about, like, what can I control or do right now? And like, no one can predict the future, right? If we could, we play the lotto and win every time, right? But our brains will convince us that like we can predict the future. So that's one that I have all the time.
I love that. Do you use your own app?
Yeah.
To ask you that because always hear people saying, like in my case, when I'm talking about investing or financial education, I see some people that are teaching but they're not investing. I'm like, I don't believe people that don't consume or do what they're promoting, right? So here on the podcast, we are big on helping other founders reach their ideal client, their ideal opportunities. What are some of those opportunities that you are looking for so we can help you grow the impact of Plural and, of course, help bridge that mental health accessibility gap?
Yeah, so two things. Clients, we're looking for pilot program partners to just test the app with their community, whether it be students or employees, and then investors. So we're going to kick off our fundraising round in a few weeks. We're just like finalizing, updating the deck, given the traction and finishing Techstars. So we're looking for mission aligned pre-seed investors who are interested in shaping the future of mental health.
I love that. And like I will send emails here because I just really like this idea of supporting another founder, but also the idea of prioritizing mental health, especially right now. By the time we are recording the podcast, there's so much going on in the world, and it could feel like there's not tomorrow, right? Like day by day, there's always something new. So before I let you go, I'm so curious and I'm so nosy and chismosa. What is behind you?
So I have this is my office at my apartment, and I have like frames of just various like art that I've just like seen in the street. So typically when I go visit a new country or city, I look up local murals near me and I just make an activity out of it. So I like walk there or run there and just like take a bunch of pictures. So they're as close as the Bronx and as far as Singapore.
Nice.
And they're like up across like I have hundreds that I haven't even printed out yet.
They're pretty cool. I mean, I was just like, what is it? Because it looks amazing. It looks amazing. Now, at the beginning of the podcast, I shared with you that I was working on a project for reels and content creation. How do you find the time to create content? Because I see you like selling, adjusting, content creation, and there's no stopping for you. So, when did you find the time to do all of these?
I actually dedicate a day out of the week to just do it. So every day is a different thing that I focus on. So like Monday marketing, Tuesday product, Wednesday sales, Thursday more sales, right? So whatever it is, I just focus like a day on it or actually have blocked off every day where I'm just like I have time to be creative. And be creative could mean so many different things, but typically that involves making content. But I just keep telling myself like, yo, you can have the best product, but if no one knows about it, like what's the point? So yeah, and then the last thing I would say is just like if it's not fun, don't do it. Like just don't do it because you're gonna get burnt out. So find the type of content that you can create that is actually fun for you. If video is uncomfortable, don't do video. Like just go hard on LinkedIn. If writing is cool, do that. Like, but it should be the fun part. If it's not fun, just don't do it.
I love that. I like to make videos, but I think my videos are funny, but most people don't think my videos are funny. So now I just do them for me, most of them. But I do write a lot. I want to ask you as far as like your family and the people that is within your circle. And I'm asking you this because like myself, I want to teach my family about investing and come on, this is how you do it. What was there a time when you launched the app when you were like inviting your family, your friends to like try it and become members of your product? And how did that go?
Yes, I definitely invited people to try it. It went well. Like even my mom was like, "Oh shit!" Like she said, "Hola, cómo estás?" And it was like, "Dímelo, Marisa." And she was like, "¿Qué? What?" She said, "Dímelo." It was crazy. Yeah, so it was fun. I think the interesting thing about the startup too, like you often hear about like a friends and family round. I didn't even think about doing that because I'm just like family round. What the hell is that? But as far as just like using the product, yeah, 100%.
I love that. I love that. Now, funding is hard for founders. And I know these because I lived it, I see it. So, how do you find opportunities for funding? Because it requires a lot of capital to grow an app and really any business, right?
Yeah. That shit is depressing. I think I have a better chance of getting hit by lightning and ran over by a car at the same time than like getting money for fundraising. But what is it like? I think Black and Latino founders combined, maybe it's like 2%. Like shit
It is.
is depressing. And I think besides like finding the time, you gotta be like mentally prepared to get hundreds of no's. You just gotta be, yeah. I think it's more of like a mental thing than it is anything else. And I don't have that many tips because my only investor is Techstars so far. But I have had various pitches. I have had various meetings. Yeah, I don't know if I have advice because I only have Techstars so
Yeah,
far.
and I want to ask you this kind of to put you on the spot because I think that there's so many people that have the idea of launching an app, right? And there's some great ideas out there, but also they don't think about the 100 or 1,000 no's that they're gonna get. And I ask you this to kind of piggyback why resources like yours are so important for anyone, but also for founders when they're, applying for speaking engagement, applying for funding, applying for, hey, I want to have my early readers, for example, if someone is writing a book, like all of these, and sometimes people don't use the tools that are available to us. And so thank you for being honest. I really wanted to bring you here because I'm like, he's going to tell us how it is. He's going to be super honest with his journey and with everything that you're going through. So we're going to invite people to download the app. Are there any other opportunities or other services that you offer that you would like to share with the audience today?
I would focus on the app for now. Like I said, I would love to test it with any organization, corporate, college, university. It's very simple. We just get a group of students or employees to test it over a month and have them complete a 5-question survey before and after, and we just measure the results. Very simple, but our goal is to prove that this is effective in various use cases so that we can continue getting these B2B contracts and scale how many people we can offer it to.
I love it. I love it. So I wish you well, and I cannot wait to see your app just take over because we definitely need to keep the mental health conversation open, not just one specific month of the year, right? Because we are dealing with mental health throughout the year at the different seasons of our life. So thank you for coming to the show. But before I let you go, I want to ask you, what is your definition of wealth?
Working because you want to, not because you have to.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, let's go ahead and build well juntos, Pavel. And thank you again for coming to the show.
Thank you.
On the Say Hola Well podcast and its associated entities, all content provided is for general informational purposes only. This information is not intended as legal, accounting, tax, or other professional advice. Listeners are encouraged to seek guidance from qualified professionals such as accountants, financial planners, or attorneys before making decisions based on the content shared. We assume no responsibility for errors, omissions, or misinterpretation in the podcast of its associated materials. Additionally, we disclaim all liabilities from any defamatory, offensive, or inappropriate content shared by guests or contributors. By accessing this podcast and its related content, you acknowledge the terms of this disclaimer.